All right. Welcome to another episode of Valued Pursuit. My name is Patrick Davitt. I'm here with my co-host, Tyler Stegmann. Tyler, welcome. Good morning. Pleasure to always be here with you.
Absolutely. Episode 12, we're moving right along. We have Jason Klein here. Thank you for being here, Jason. Writer and father. We're so excited to have you on today. So, we just want to get started with, we always ask our guests here on Valued Pursuit your origin story. So, Jason, tell us kind of where you started and then take us to present day, just a quick overview.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks guys for having me. Really appreciate it. Tyler, I know you and I have talked about this for a while, getting this done. So I'm happy that it finally came to fruition. Love what you guys do with this podcast, the positivity, kind of like the idea of being your best self and going after that is really important. And I think it's a message that I tried to convey in my book. We'll get to that in a second. A little bit of background on me. So I live in Mount Kisco, New York. It's Westchester. I'm about 40 minutes north of New York City. I live here with my wife, Alyssa, who actually works with Tyler, and my daughters, Ava and Jade. Ava is 13, which is crazy. She's in middle school now. And Jade is 9. She's in 4th grade. And I graduated from Quinnipiac University in Hampton, Connecticut. Alyssa and I actually met there. And I went to get my degree in journalism and minored in marketing. And sports was always important to me growing up. Something that I, was involved with as a kid. I played a lot of sports, went to a lot of games with my dad. So sports is, just inherently a part of who I am. So I kind of wanted to do something in the sports industry when I graduated. And I was fortunate to get a job with a company called Steiner Sports, who at the time was the leader in sports collectibles, marketing, memorabilia. I had an amazing opportunity to get in at a very low level, just doing basic phone sales, which, got me involved in the company at an early age and was able to kind of connect with a lot of sports fans. Worked my way up through the company and ultimately was doing a lot of projects directly with a lot of my heroes growing up. I was able to work directly with guys like Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera, all people who I looked up to as a kid. So now to be able to work alongside them was fascinating and a great experience for me. I did that for about a decade. And then when we had our daughters, I had to make a decision. Did I want to keep going along this path or maybe change things up a little bit? And I decided to spend a little bit more time focusing on my family and my writing. And writing is something that I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to do something in sports writing, natural, fit between two of my passions. And never thought I'd write a children's book, but it just so happens being in that world with 2 young kids and having the opportunity to have some time to write, it kind of made sense to write something that, they could benefit from, they could enjoy, and I could share with them. So the meshing of sports and writing for me and the children's book was kind of like a compilation of all my passions all in one. So that's kind of how I got into the writing game. And really it's, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more, the process, but it was a while. It took me a long time to get this book published. And, I'm really proud of it, proud of the message that it's sending. And it's been a really exciting experience so far.
That's awesome. It's wonderful to have you on. It's wonderful to hear your story. We're getting to now bring your story again more to the audience. I mean, we've seen you on newsreels and you've been all over the country. And so it's wonderful to have you here. Can you tell us, we'll get into the book and that's one of my favorite things that I'm excited to talk to you about. I have 2 young daughters. They're now 9 and 11. So, this hits home with me.
Sure.
Can you go back and tell us a little bit about, obviously a huge fan of sports, working very closely with baseball, and then which we're going to get into the book, about baseball and working with those, like pros and experts, masters of their craft in the field. Is there anything that they imparted on you that you sort of carried with you? Like what what lessons of life and I mean, because they're obviously there's, you know, you look at Jeter, I mean, some of the names you mentioned, there's really no greater than that. So
Sure.
what did they rub off on you? What lessons could you share with our audience that like you took away from them?
Sure. I think, you know, probably the most important thing I learned from working with athletes at that level was just that they're people, like they're humans, like we are. You know, you see them on TV, you see the magnitude of their careers and their personalities, and then to see them in a quiet room signing, you know, 1,000 pieces of memorabilia and just having a normal conversation with them, it kind of levels the playing field between, you know, the average person and these athletes and celebrities. So I think that was really important for me to you know, to see, and I think that rubbed off on me in a big way. I think another thing that it taught me was just, you know, I have the ability to interact with these people. So really now nothing phases me. I can have a conversation with anybody. And I think that's a really important, you know, skill and trait to have when you're in this industry, when you're, you know, selling a book, talking to people like you guys. I have that ability. And I think that was a really important skill that I learned while working at Steiner Sports.
Now, what would you describe that as? Like, what if we had to write that into a word or a few words? What would you label that as? Like that ability to talk to anyone, no matter where you are, who it is, you know, and ultimately, it's like an adaptation. It's an ability of, it's almost like a chameleon from an emotional, you know, cognitive standpoint to be able to adjust yourself to any situation. What would we call that? Tyler, feel free to chime in too.
Yeah, and was there a pivotal point too where you felt like, Jason, that clicked for you? Like, because I'm sure in the beginning, did it come naturally? You feel like you grew up with that maybe from your parental figures, or is that something that at Steiner, like there was a day where it was like, wow, I really can do this? You know, someone came in and they kind of shifted that for you in the right direction.
Sure. I think the word I would probably best use to describe that skill and that characteristic is just confidence. And, you know, to another degree, comfort. You know, it's difficult to speak publicly. It's difficult to interact with people who you idolize and you know, view as, you know, above you. But I think the ability to work alongside them and to see them as normal people and have conversations about life, not just sports, I think that really lends itself to that confidence and being like, you know what, I belong, like I fit in here, I can do this. And, you know, ironically, you know, as we're having this conversation, a lot of those skills and those traits are kind of central to the story that I wrote about in the book, about being comfortable, believing in yourself, doing what makes you happy, and not really viewing yourself as an outcast in any capacity. So I think that's probably the one word I would use, would be confidence. Tyler, as far as what you said, was there a pivotal point for me? You know, I definitely did not grow up being comfortable speaking on a public forum. I think that took time. I wanted to go into journalism. So, you know, in high school and in college, working for the newspaper, being on TV and interacting in that capacity in front of a camera, I think I built that confidence over time. Ironically, I'm a big Yankee fan. So I grew up in the 90s with the Yankees. And my first week at Steiner Sports was actually the week that the Red Sox won the World Series. And to win that World Series, which obviously broke an 86-year curse, to win that World Series, they beat the Yankees in the ALCS. And so I was devastated. And here I am working at this new job. And the first day I'm there, they're putting me on the phone, talking to hundreds of Red Sox fans, trying to tell them, you know, we've got Pedro Martinez and David Ortiz in the office. They're signing, you know, memorabilia to commemorate this championship. And, you know, in the back of my head, I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking about this. But, you know, having those conversations, and like you said, Patrick, being a chameleon, I had to kind of adapt my personality and my comfort level to speak about this subject that was really bothering me. But I had these conversations, and I was able to, you know, to make friends with a lot of customers, and to, you know, kind of bring myself to their level and share in their enjoyment of this moment in their lives, which honestly was relatable for me, because as a sports fan and as somebody who's in this industry at the time, I know how important sports are and how important these moments are. And to help some of these people commemorate that moment that was so important to them, I think was really important for me. And again, played to that confidence and comfortable element of being able to adapt and to speak on any subject with anybody.
Awesome. Go ahead, Tyler.
So were you able to get some reps in with some other players that weren't as close to your heart, with, not as Yankee fans, like Derek and A-Rod and maybe like Bernie? I know he's another GOAT I had a lot of stuff from him too, memorabilia and stuff like that. But like with other players on sports teams that, with like the Red Sox, for instance, was that something that stimulated you as much as, like, if you're speaking with Derek Jeter, or is it something that you kind of used as like repetitions to practice to be more comfortable and confident to be able to ask those really tough questions with like Derek Jeter, A-Rod, and like those people when you cross paths?
Sure. Working with players from other teams and other sports that weren't so, close to my heart, I think it kind of helped with that whole seeing them as normal people. When a guy like the first time I saw Derek Jeter in the office, it was bizarre. I grew up watching him from, an early age, and here he is walking in the office, and, at the time he was a 4-time World Series champion, and he walks in, and I'm looking at him, and I made eye contact with him, and it was like, I know you, like, I know everything about you. And he's looking at me with this blank stare, like, who are you? And it was just this bizarre dynamic of, it was almost like he saw me, but he didn't see me. And then the more I worked with him and I was able to interview him several times, that obviously gave me more confidence and built that up. I didn't experience those same feelings with guys on the Red Sox, or other athletes, but I had some really interesting and unique experiences with those players. Actually, probably the most unique experience I ever had working in that industry was not with a player on a team, but a legend in his own right, obviously, Muhammad Ali. We did a signing with Muhammad Ali, and it was one of my earlier signings that I was a part of. And I was able to walk into the room where he was signing. And, at the time he had already been well into his Parkinson's diagnosis. So he wasn't really speaking too much. He was kind of there to do a job and signed his autograph on, we had boxing gloves, we had photos and all kinds of collectibles for him to autograph. And he was there for a while. And he actually, at one point, as I mentioned, he wasn't really speaking too much, but at one point he picked up a piece of cardboard that was on the table. It was, part of a box that I guess was housing some of the gloves. And he flipped it over, and not like pushed to do this in any capacity. He took a pen, it was a Sharpie, and he just started doodling. And he drew a large square, and then he took the pen and he started making dots all around the square. And we're all looking around like, what is he doing? Like, this is Muhammad Ali, like one of the greatest athletes, the biggest celebrities in the world. What is he doing? And he makes hundreds of dots around this square. And then in the middle of the square, he drew 2 stick figures with big hands. And ultimately he drew a boxing ring with 2 fighters in the middle, and all of the dots were the fans watching. And we all looked at each other and we could not believe what we saw. It was just amazing. To witness something like that was really special. And that's probably one of my most favorite memories working in that industry.
Wow. That's obviously the baseball, I am a big baseball fan. I'm a huge Muhammad Ali fan. And the more I watch videos of interviews with him, and he's a very philosophical individual.
Yeah.
And there's a really good quote that talks about that concept where it's, the interested are watching the obsessed, like from the sidelines, do their thing. But it kind of brings me back. What I wanted to mention, what I really enjoyed that you said, was this idea of comfort and confidence. You said confidence first. Let's say with Jeter, it makes me think, and this is where we can segue into the book, because you're right. It emulates everything that your book is about, and everything that it seems like the message is about, that we want to dive into today. But you had all of this confidence in Jeter, and probably more confidence in him than in any other player.
Sure.
And he didn't necessarily have any comfort in you because he didn't know you, but he was super friendly and things like that. And then it's like trust is earned, respect is earned, and things like that. But you got to see he was a regular individual. And then part of what I'm thinking, and maybe you can comment on this, is you had this confidence in him. Whether or not you had confidence in yourself to the same degree as him is sort of one thing that I think we can talk about, because I think that's a main message that I like to get out. But I think over time, it's trying to realize that, Jeter is a master of his craft, but the more you got to know him and he got to know you, he probably also realized, there's plenty of things that Jason is an expert at that is far superior to what I'm an expert at, So I think part of, for me, that comfort is have the comfortability, or being comfortable knowing that you should be confident, because there's always something that you can bring to the table that everyone else can't bring, because you are the only person like yourself that has ever existed. Like there's many baseball players, but they each have those little individual traits. So it's like, someone working in the baseball field, if you're the accountant, if you're the GM, if you're the equipment manager, it's like everyone's bringing something different, to the table. So the Muhammad Ali story was, those are the things that you want to go through life, capturing, and those are the things that we want to go through life acquiring, so that we can relay them, to others. Because the book that hopefully we can get into, and Tyler will do the segue for that, but it's these stories that ultimately we pass down, to generation. And Tyler, I think this is a good segue to really get into the book. But it makes me think of that, Jason, that idea of, specifically with Jeter, because you said you didn't feel that way or have that type of interaction with a lot of the other greats, and some of them are just as great in certain capacities. But that chameleon aspect of being able to adapt yourself in any environment. And then I guess we can sort of segue in, because how much of that ability to adapt to any environment relies on confidence, and ultimately, how do you get that? Like, how did you come about having that confidence? Where did the confidence that you eventually have, come from? And then that's where I'll let Tyler take it away and introduce the book. But where did that come from? Like, how did you acquire it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think just time, experience. Listen, to get to your point that you said, a few seconds ago, about how, maybe Derek Jeter is a great baseball player, but maybe there are things that I can do that he can't do. I think that's a really important message. I think that everybody is good at something. Everybody can do something that's unique to them. And I think recognizing that and building that confidence in yourself that you can do something that, that's special and that maybe somebody else can't do. I think that's, another central theme to the story, which hopefully will end to a nice segue for Tyler. But I think that is, another central theme that I tried to hit. And I think, with time and experience, you build that confidence in yourself to kind of let those skills shine through.
Awesome. Tyler, all right, let's bring out the book.
I was plugging it before I got it
there
here.
It is.
I was one of the first people who got the pre-order. I was lucky. But Yes, Pepper, Girls Play Baseball Too by Jason Klein. So as we can see, it's in the back for the people that have the visual up right now, maybe YouTube. Jason has it behind him as well. But take us through, Jason, what stimulated you to write this? Like, in your background that we were reading, Jade played first in Little League, your daughter, and then Ava wanted to play secondly. So kind of take us through the thought process of what, how you felt in those moments as a father, first and foremost, and then secondly, what really stimulated you to bring this thing to life and make it happen.
Sure. So as I mentioned, baseball is, an important part of my childhood. I would go to Yankee games with my dad. And football too. I'm a big football fan. My dad has had Jet season tickets since 1977. So I've been going to games with him since I was 5. And so the bond between my dad and I watching these games and being involved in sports, I think not only was a central theme to my childhood, but it's something I wanted to carry on with my own kids. So, we watch games together. I've taken them both to Yankee games, and that's always been an important thing for me. And actually Ava came to me a few years back, and she had some interest in playing baseball. But she actually said to me, Dad, is baseball a sport that girls can play too? And when she said that, it kind of broke my heart a little bit, because, I want her to be confident, and Alyssa and I are raising both of them to believe in themselves and know that they can do anything that they want to do. So when she had these insecurities, I wanted to do something to help boost her confidence and let her know that she could do this. So, as an extremely responsible parent, the first thing I did was go on Twitter. And I tweeted out looking for support from anybody who agreed with me that girls could play baseball. And, I just wanted to get a few quick wins just to show her that, a handful of people supported the idea. And I ended up hearing from over 100,000 people. The tweet went viral. I ended up hearing initially from Jessica Mendoza and Monet Davis, who are, two very big names in women's baseball. And Major League Baseball ended up responding. Little League International, USA Women's Baseball. I had the Washington Post contact me, and they had a writer do a feature piece on us, which was awesome. It was nonstop. It was overwhelming. I knew that I kind of struck a nerve with this subject. And the idea of equality and inclusion for everybody. And so what was interesting, though, for me is that aside from all of the celebrities and large organizations that were reaching out to me, I heard from like thousands of just normal everyday parents who were contacting me, letting me know about their own daughters and their journeys through sports and through baseball. And they all wanted to lend their support for Ava as well. So when that happened, that was a big indication to me that a book like this was, something that I think would have some legs and be important. And it was a big motivating factor for me to end up writing it.
Go ahead, Tyler. I see you itching.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have a bunch of questions that I had written down about it, but so how do you feel with the whole experience? Do you feel, so I like the point that you made about being a parental figure, and you and Alyssa do a great job with trying to promote them to be confident and really believe in anything they can do. Because I don't think that's something that's very common with most parents. I think most parents may, from personal experience and also from, friends and other people talking about the same kind of topic, if you want to do something shooting for the stars, maybe like starting a business, and you may be the first person in your family to do that, or maybe you want to go and do some sort of career that may be a lot of school and you weren't, the best student in your upbringing, so on and so forth. What would you say to other parents that may be listening to motivate their kids in a way that maybe they weren't motivated when they were younger, to kind of believe in themselves and really, be successful in pursuing their dreams?
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, I think my role as a dad is to support my kids. If there's something that they want to do and I could help them accomplish that, that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm here to help them grow and to get, as the theme of valued pursuit, to be their best selves and to go after that. And so, I would never force my kids to do something they didn't want to do. Obviously school is important. There are certain values that you have to uphold and take care of as a responsible person. But if there's something that they want to do, my goal is to help them do that and to support them in any way that I can. So, when Ava had these insecurities and issues with the idea of a girl playing baseball, I just wanted to do anything I could to show her that if she wants to do it, she can do it. And, fortunately I had some support from a few hundred, 100,000 people to help. But, more importantly, on a local term, for me personally, it was important for me to show her that. And that's something that I continue to do. Ava actually doesn't play baseball anymore. She retired. So she's now doing other things, like she's very big into artwork. She's learning how to play tennis. So, again, as a chameleon, I am adapting my responsibilities to help her in those categories and to achieve whatever she wants to do with that. So I think, in summary, I think as a dad, that's kind of my responsibility, is to help them achieve what they want to do.
Yeah. And one of the things that struck me is that she came to you and said, can girls play baseball? And it makes me think of this sort of line that this one famous speaker always talked about. He talked about optimists versus pessimists, and the idea was, if you have an optimist and a pessimist, and somebody walks up to each and they say, hey, do you know how to play the violin? And the pessimist says, no, I don't know how to play the violin. But the optimist says, I don't know, I've never tried. Mm-hmm. So the idea of what, and it's, now that I'm thinking, anything that my daughters come to me and ask, because the way that you worded it would be, let's go find out. Nobody owns baseball. So let's go find out if you can play baseball. And if you can't, it's something that we can work on. It's such a cool, powerful message. And I think that one of, part of what we're talking about is that pursuit of your better self. The number one thing that I'm constantly telling really anyone, students, friends, family, clients, there's not just one. And it's kind of like what you're saying, because you're saying, well, yeah, there was the baseball and that was a part of her life, and now she's moving on to a different part of her life, but that part of her life is going to be carried with her wherever she goes. That regardless of where we go, there are multiple better versions of us. It's not only this one version. So had it only been softball, well, that's one. But, the cool thing about it is that curiosity. And I think that's another thing that maybe we can touch on, where you have this aspect of confidence, comfort, and especially for her, and this is where we'll get into with the book, because a big part of what you seem to be doing with it is breaking people out of molds, breaking people out of their shells to, venture into unknown territory and find out, hey, is this something that I can do?
Yeah.
So what do you think was a big aspect of her coming to you? Had you said, and this is probably what, girls for years and years and years, and it's definitely still happening today, of my daughter coming to me, or a daughter coming to her father or anyone and saying, hey, can girls play baseball, or can I play baseball? And then them saying, well, no. Talk us through that. Like, why is that such a hindrance on allowing those girls, your daughters, my daughters, to really pursue and test the limits of what they might be capable of doing in the world?
Yeah. I mean, when Ava came to me, to get back to your point about what you just said, why did she come to you? How did she feel about that? I think she came to me and asked me that question because I think she felt comfortable with me and knew that I was there to support her. Mm-hmm. She knew that I wasn't going to judge her. She knew that I wasn't going to tell her, no, you can't do that, because I think that's the precedent that I set, and Alyssa as well. The two of us together have set from an early age with both of our kids that if you have an issue, if you have something you're unsure about, come to us and we'll help you. So I think that's really important from a parent's perspective, to give your child that comfort level where they can come to you, as opposed to going to somebody else who might not give them the advice that you would support. What's interesting is that actually last night we went and did a parent-teacher conference for my younger one, Jade. And Jade had come to us a couple days ago, and she said, when you talk to my teacher, she's going to tell you that I don't participate a lot in class. And we said to her, well, why don't you participate? You know the answers, like raise your hand. And she said to us, because I think I might get it wrong. Mm. And so that kind of hits at the point you just said about, that's what we're here for. Like, we're here to make mistakes. We're here to learn, off of our mistakes, off of what other people say that we can't do. We're here to try. We're here to do the best that we can. And so it was interesting that you brought that point up, because we just lived that last night when we talked to her teacher about that. So, the experience that Ava and Jade have gotten playing baseball with boys and kind of testing the limits and going outside their comfort zone. I think those skills, like you mentioned, are so important that now they can take those anywhere they go and have the confidence to know that, no, it's not that I can't play the violin. It's that, I haven't tried yet. And once I try, if I make those mistakes, if I don't do as well as I'd like to do, that's an opportunity to get better. So I think a lot of the learning experience that has come from this, not only this book, but just them actually playing baseball, will carry them through life and be great skills for them to have.
Yeah, that's great. It made me think, the parent teacher, my daughter, they're in 3rd and 5th grade. My older daughter in 4th grade last year, her teacher, when we first went and met them, on the way out above the door, it said, I love quotes. I'm obsessed with quotes. It said, mistakes are proof that you are trying.
Yeah.
And I turned around and I commented on it, and it's one that I constantly use. Einstein has another one: show me someone making no mistakes, and I'll show you someone trying nothing new.
Yeah.
But I know I'll let Tyler get to a question, but part of what it also makes me think of is, when your daughter came to you asking that question, there's 2 aspects. One, just the asking of the question, how much confidence there is in being courageous and putting that question out there, and there's almost like, literally confidence in curiosity. It's a curiosity to find out, what can I do? What am I capable of? And then almost like C's, we're talking about all these, the words starting with C, but like there's an aspect of courage to that.
Yeah.
And we'll touch on that in a little bit. I had a question about that, but that's fantastic. It's such an eye-opening lesson and I think that's one of the main things that I try and relay. We try and relay on this podcast. I try and relay to myself, to my daughters, anyone, my students, that like mistakes are proof that you are trying, and it's the mistakes that are now, Thomas Edison said, it's not 6,000 ways in which I failed. It's 6,000 ways in which I showed that a light bulb doesn't work, So it's having that confidence to be curious about yourself, about the world. And I think the comfort then comes in being comfortable with those around you to ask those, questions. And then this is where we'll get into, can you, I'm going to jump in, Tyler, but can you walk us to, once that question was, yes, girls can play baseball, walk us through that then, like, how did it go from there? Local tryouts, things like that.
Yeah. So, once we got to the point where she was comfortable signing up and playing, from there, fortunately, our town, has a very low level, little league, where kids, we don't really focus on the score of the game or the rules per se. It's more about getting out there, gaining experience, learning how to play the game and hit the ball and field and throw. So, there were no tryouts for her, but I think the hurdle she had to overcome, and both of them had to overcome, was, taking the field with boys and being in that environment where, in a couple of cases, Jade was the only girl on her team. Ava had a couple of seasons with other girls, who played alongside her. And, the reason, to backtrack a second, the reason why we signed up for baseball in the first place is that we don't have a softball designated specifically for Mount Kisco. There's a softball league that is actually in a neighboring town that encompasses Mount Kisco. But if they wanted to play alongside their peers from school, it would have to be baseball. Mm-hmm. So that's why we went with baseball in the first place. And I think that was the hurdle, was being okay playing alongside boys. And once they got on the field, it was just kids. It wasn't boys and girls. It was just kids playing, and they were teammates. And I think that, we're very fortunate where we live that we live with a lot of great families and great kids who subscribe to that, that theory that girls and boys can play together. And the parents were very supportive along the way as well. And every once in a while I'd peek over and I'd see, my girls getting high fives and making a good play, getting a nice hit, and everybody supported them. So once they actually got on the field, it was kind of just normalcy. And I think that was a really important thing to, for me to see and for them to experience as well.
Let's get a little bit more into the book too, as we go through kind of the way that it came to fruition in terms of your life experiences. So where'd the name exactly come from? The Yes Pepper.
Yeah. So Yes Pepper is a play on a couple of things. So in the book, the main character's name is Abby, and she is a little bit different from her peers, which we'll get into. But when all the other kids are bringing pretzels and chips and things like that for snack, she brings sliced up peppers. And that's what she likes to eat, and that's what she brings. And the kids kind of tease her a little bit because of that. So that's kind of your first indication that she's a little bit unique. So the peppers that she's eating is one area of where the pepper comes in. The Yes Pepper is kind of a play on an old sign that used to hang in a lot of major league ballparks and a lot of recreational fields around the country that said no pepper. And basically pepper is a common baseball drill that kids play, where you have a batter and you have a line of fielders, and the batter his responsibility is to hit ground balls to the fielders, and the fielders field it and throw it back, and he hits another ground ball. And so the idea is to keep hitting ground balls, and if you hit a pop fly and it's caught, you're out and you switch. So that game is actually banned in major league stadiums and in a lot of smaller fields around the country, because not only are you constantly hitting the ball into the ground and chewing up the grass or the turf, but there's also the opportunity for a lot of foul balls and for it to go and hit people when they're not paying attention. So there always used to be no pepper signs hanging up. And so the word no obviously has a negative connotation to it, and the word yes is a positive connotation. So I took the yes and the pepper, combined them together, and that's kind of where the title originated from. And the other thing, just to bring the theme of the story into it, pepper, the great thing about that drill itself is that it's something that anybody can do, regardless of your height, your strength, your speed, or of course your gender. Anybody can play pepper. So I thought that was kind of symbolic of the overall message too.
Awesome, man. Those little kids, sliced peppers are so good. They just had unrefined palates and they just couldn't see it.
That's true. That's another positive out of writing this book for me, is that before I wrote it, they didn't eat peppers and now they do. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Man, I got to write all these books to get them to eat certain foods.
That's so funny.
Now, walk us through how, from that question being asked by your daughter to the initiation of putting pen to paper or starting, to put down that first word.
Yeah.
How long of a time period was that?
So
and then how long in general did the book take?
Yeah. It was a long process. So that question was asked in 2018. That's when I originally tweeted it. And I started writing the book later that year. And about February of 2020, I sat down with a draft of it that I was pretty comfortable with after doing a lot of rewrites and research and speaking to all kinds of publishing houses to get feedback. I got to the point where I was comfortable with it. And in February of 2020, that's when I started to pitch it to different publishers for real. And then a few weeks later, we all know what happened to our world. So the book kind of went on hold for a couple of years. I was home with both of my kids throughout the pandemic. They were home with me for 13 months. I was a kindergarten teacher and a fourth grade teacher, and helping them manage remote school. Mm-hmm. And so there really wasn't much time for me to do anything relating to the book. But when they went back full time in April of 21, I really started to get back into it as I had more time for myself again. And from there, it took April of 21 till about it came out in January of 23. So about 2 years of more massaging the text, finding the right publisher, getting the illustrations the way that I wanted them, and getting it ready for market. It was a process, and it was a really unique experience for me. I'd never done anything like that before. I'd never, learned how to do that. But, like we said, I stepped outside my comfort zone. I kind of tried to do it. I did a ton of research, spoke to a lot of authors who've been through the process to kind of understand what I was up against. And in January of 23, it released. And since then, it's just been a lot of promotion, a lot of, trying to get the message out and connect with as many people as I can who I think not only will enjoy the story, but hopefully benefit from it as well.
Man, that's all. And that, that's fantastic. And it's wild because it's a testament to like, how much you believed in the book. I wonder if obviously the message is there, but there's probably this underlying power that you seemingly wrote the book for, all girls, but at the same time, a big part of it is, that drive and that passion to sort of write it for your daughters, like, I guess, to show them, that there's more to who we can become than whatever society tells us and things like that. So that's awesome. And just a testament, congratulations on the testament to you sticking it out that whole time and, like literally just persisting and persevering to really get the book, because it's a worthwhile book to have out there, and it's a wonderful message and things like that. So that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, the persistence, I think, came from, first off, Alyssa pushed me to do it. She said, you can't let this die. You have to keep going and push through it, which I did. And to be honest with you, like now on a personal level, seeing that book on both of their bookshelves, it's in the library at our elementary school. Jade has friends who take it out when they go to the library and read it at home. And so, the fact that they can be proud of it too, and they can experience this with me because they're still young enough where it's something that they're interested in. I think that was a big motivating factor for me too. And ultimately was something that I look back on and I'm glad that I did it so that I could experience that with them.
So part of that process, because you just talked about, Alyssa, your wife.
Yeah.
I think of the word support. So, and I think that gets to the message of the book that, yes, I mean, a lot of what I find in life is coming to terms with who I am and being able to individually be comfortable with myself to persevere. But a big aspect of that, especially for our children, is that level of support. So yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about when your daughter asked you the question and, the other, asking the question in class, well, I'm afraid I'll get it wrong, and having that support to let them know making mistakes is okay. Pursuing more, if you want more, is like a wonderful thing. So how much did the support that you, or I guess it's really more, because you just sort of answered that, how much of the support do you think helped your daughters go out for Little League? And I think ultimately that's one of the main takeaways that I get from the book, not just to understand that courage, comfort, confidence, but for others to then be supportive of the girls who are asking those questions. So I think that for me, that's another main second takeaway of the book, that the book is providing support, even if actually it's even more so. I would think that book, I'm very supportive of my daughters, but people who aren't supportive of the girls saying, can I play baseball? Your book is now providing that support. So kudos for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and just hearing you say that is, makes me proud. That's something that I don't expect my book to change the world, but I want it to help the people who read it. And, so I think we all need support in some capacity. We need that positive reinforcement. We need to know that somebody's got our back. So, that's something that we stress, and let our kids know that we have their support, that they have our support. And I hope my book can provide, even to a small degree, some support for somebody who reads it, who maybe thinks that they can't do something, really in any category. It doesn't have to just be baseball. Like this is not just a baseball book. I mean, baseball is the subject I used as the vehicle to tell the story and to spread the message. But this is really a book for anybody who struggles with, self-doubt or insecurities, or feels like they don't belong somewhere. This message is for them. And I think it can help out a lot of people in that regard.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Tyler.
So we're talking about all this great stuff. So Jason, how would you define value from your career, kind of how you evolved over being in journalism and writing now, being a father, a coach too, we didn't talk about, right? You were coaching your kids too,
Yeah.
which is really cool. We can touch on that. And then taking that a step further after this experience with the book, would there be anything that you would add to like values that you live by as a father, and then as also, um,
Writer,
a
coach.
significant other, writer, coach, so on and so
Yeah.
forth?
Well, I mean, value has a lot of meanings, to a lot of people. I think, coming from the industry I was in, things have a lot of monetary value. Some of the collectibles I sold and promoted were worth thousands and thousands of dollars. But I think more than that, the value of those items that I sold was the sentimental value that they held, and continue to hold for the fans that purchased them. So I think a good definition of the word value might be important. What's important to you? What makes you feel good? What makes you feel happy? I think there's tremendous value in that. And I think that's, another central theme to the story is doing what makes you happy and doing what's important to you, and getting value out of your life, as opposed to doing things that maybe you don't want to do, or maybe being pushed to do things that that are not, something that make you happy or something that you love. So I would say value is definitely something that's important to you and has that sentimental attachment.
Yeah. So what's the next chapter? Are you still promoting? Like, are you doing book signings? Is the book still a big part of your life right now? I mean, it's not that long ago that it went out. Are you touring ever with the book? Like, are you being asked to come and talk to it about the book?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been doing a bunch of podcasts like this. I had some really great media attention at the beginning. I had an appearance on Major League Baseball's network. I was on the Yes Network here in New York with Nancy Newman, who I love. I did a bunch of local TV interviews as well. So that initial like hype phase kind of came and went. And now it's more of a grind. Now I'm learning what it's like to be an author, where I'm spending a lot of time on social media, which is, it's fantastic that we have those tools today, where I can basically go on, Instagram or Twitter, and search hashtags of, girls playing baseball, anybody writing or commenting about their daughter playing the game. And those are contacts that I can come into, I can meet and tell them about my book. And I'm trying to connect with a lot of leagues and see if they want to buy the book to share with the girls who are in their league. So it's a lot more of a grind now. But the fun part for me is that I also get to be a little bit creative with this. I have control of the message of the story. I can go out if I want to go and shoot footage for a cool TikTok video to promote the video. I can go do that. If I want to, write an inspirational tweet, I can do that. This is my book and this is my story to tell. And I'm really proud and glad that I get to go ahead and do that and kind of use all my creative juices to help tell the story. But it's not easy, but it's fun. I'll say that.
Awesome, Kyle.
Yeah. So to kind of jump kind of off of Patrick's question, if you had to create a title for this present chapter in your life, what would it be?
Wow, that's a deep question. A title for this chapter of my life. I don't know. I just talked about being creative and everything, and now I'm drawing a blank. So,
Well, so part of
uh,
part of that could be that maybe that is an aspect of the title, because things are shift. It sounds like things have shifted a ton, because you
yeah,
had so much drive on the creation of the book, and now you have to be creative to use the book as a tool to, you have to use all these tools to figure out, now what do I want to do with the book? Where do I want to
yeah,
bring it? How do I
yeah,
want, to get the book into the hands of others and the message to get across and stuff like
sure.
that. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I didn't set out to be a children's author. Like that's not something that I, as a kid growing up, I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be in sports and in writing in some capacity, and this just kind of came together, out of circumstance. But I think that hits to a point we discussed earlier about being that chameleon and adapting to what's going on in your life and jumping outside that comfort zone. So, I think it's interesting that this process bridged over the pandemic for me, where everybody learned how to adapt and to do things that they weren't comfortable with in environments that they weren't used to. So I think that could certainly play a role in, if I had to title this era in my life, maybe something along the lines of being that chameleon, or being, adaptive enough to become a children's author and hopefully inspire people to not only be their best selves, but also to step outside their comfort zone and do something that they may not have thought about doing, but maybe it'll work out in the long run.
yeah, so I think of two aspects that are really powerful in what you just said, because one is the message of the book itself, but then two, you just described this entire process for yourself that essentially embodies what the message of the book is, where you are now, I mean, you're working with these great legends in the sporting world. There's a lot of money going on. I'm sure it was a super crazy, fast paced, environment. And now you have followed passion. You followed wherever that path has led you, and you've adapted, and you're now taking on, and within each world is going to have its own challenges. So you're sort of a walking embodiment of the spirit of the book, which is fantastic. And so what would be the big, if when you go and speak, if you were speaking and you're literally speaking here now, we're going to send it out to the audience on the World Wide Web. What's like the main takeaway message? And the cool thing about this is, I love the fact that you are addressing it. Someone who has, two young daughters, it's even more powerful and specific for my life, because I do have those two young daughters. So the book is a great outlet for being able to do that. But like you said, I mean, the message of the book is really universal, kind of like, I mean, our whole podcast is valued pursuit. It doesn't matter who we're talking to. Everyone has a better version of themselves that they can pursue. What's the main takeaway? Like, what is this single line that you tell, or have told, or would want to tell anyone listening, particularly young girls, with the message of the book?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the overall message of the book is, it's meant to be an empowering story, to kind of show the positives of inclusion, of being able to do anything that makes you happy, regardless of what society might push back against. I want people who read this book to have confidence and to believe in themselves, and eliminate any self-doubt, and know that, if there's something out there that they want to do, go do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Give it a try. And you should, everybody should have the opportunity to be who they want to be and do what they want to do. And nobody should be able to tell you otherwise. And I think that, the normalization of this concept and of the idea of girls playing baseball or doing things that are outside the box, I think is so important from an early age. You guys actually, you had something on your Instagram that caught my mind a couple of days ago. I wrote it down because I wanted to mention it. You posted on Instagram a meme that said, "Awareness is the greatest agent for change. You choose what is possible." And I think that caught my eye because awareness is something that I hope my book brings. I hope it normalizes this concept of girls playing baseball and stepping outside their comfort zone and doing what makes them happy. Because if kids grow up reading my book and understanding that this is something that's normal and they're aware of this, then they will continue growing up and not think anything differently as they get older. And I think, there's the opportunity to kind of change the mindset as kids get older. If they see this at an early age, hopefully when they get older, they won't discriminate against girls or people who are different than they are. They'll be more accepting and more more genuine towards other people when they're different than they are. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway, is just being more accepting and respectful of people who are different than you are, and being able to step outside your comfort zone and do things that you didn't think were possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a big message. And my daughter's Gaga ball is like a really big thing. My older daughter, Charlotte, and she's apparently very, very good, because she's always coming home saying, "Oh, and it's most of the time I was the only girl left, and I got this boy out, and I got this boy out, and this boy, said to the other boy, hey, you got out by a girl." And I said, in my message to Charlotte, like, you should own that. Like, regardless of who you are, you beat that individual. Like, you won at Gaga ball that day. Keep going. Don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't keep pursuing, whatever it is that you either enjoy, or that, something that hopefully you're good at, whether or not it is, but that you also enjoy it and things like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And back to the title of for your life right now, present life, would be like empowerment. I was thinking of basically you're making people aware would be like the first part of this whole process of learning, like, wow, okay, like I don't have to be like everyone else, like Jaden, drawing a blank of your daughter's other name, Ava, yeah. Jaden, Ava, how that was like a blessing in disguise of them both playing on Little League and being, some of the only girls against a bunch of boys, and them realizing like, wow, I don't have to be like everyone else. Like, I can be myself and do what makes me happy. Like you're making the point before about happiness, and really chase my dreams in life. And now how Jade's doing other things like playing tennis, like you said, and she's going to be able to really pursue that now because she had the experience in Little League, and she was, able to basically say, hey, I can go do whatever I want now. I don't have to be like everyone else. So you're kind of taking the whole, I was just thinking like I've seen a meme before too of how it says impossible with the X through it, and saying like defining what's possible, right? Like anything's possible in life. It's really what you believe, and kind of what you put out is what you're going to manifest, right? And that's what we're talking about, is you're making people aware and empowering them to again, aware. I just said it again, saying, hey, I can actually do this. Like that's the first step. You have to be aware of it, because if you're not, you're never going to be able to make the change and move in the right direction of really what makes you happy and makes you fulfilled as a person in this lifetime. So I think it's awesome, man. Kudos to you, like Patrick said, and congratulations on the book. I've read it. Highly recommend it as a reader and a review here. That I'd give it a 5 out of 5. It was awesome. Made me smile. So very good job.
Yeah. I think, the fact that you read it and enjoyed it, I think is important as well, because the message is not just for kids. Adults can get a lot out of it too. And I think that's something I'm proud of as well, that really the message kind of transcends age, gender, wherever you're from. It's a good confidence boost for anybody who reads it.
Yeah. And that's one of what I love about it is it sort of hits home, because the general message of the book and everything you just explained about it is one of the reasons why I love quotes so much, because they transcend time. Like, it doesn't matter. Most of the quotes that I use are like thousands of years ago. So it doesn't matter who you are, that meaning and that message is the same. Like, does it resonate with you? If so, then let's go with it, so it's such a wonderful message. It's such a wonderful book, and it's been an absolute pleasure bringing you on and having you, get to share your story and get to showcase everything that you've done and your wife have done, but also not just from the book standpoint, but, from a parental standpoint, raising, like two confident girls, to allow them to be confident in themselves and be courageous to, pursue things that they enjoy. And it's a wonderful testament that, I'm happy to share with my daughters. So I want to thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I just want to say thank you for coming onto our show, being on here with us and conversating, and to you and Alyssa for just being great people, very genuine. They're two of Patrick, my biggest supporters too at Reinvent Co. They always, without a question, are like, send me the new stuff. So I really appreciate that. And Jason, why don't you leave our listeners and viewers too with all the different areas that they can connect with you, and if people are interested on where they can get your book, all that information, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. The book is available pretty much anywhere books are sold. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, any of the online retailers. You can also get it directly at my website. It's byjasonklein.com. You can also check for updates there. You could follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all at Yes Pepper Book. Or if you want to follow me directly, I'm at by Jason Klein.
Awesome. Well, we'll be sure to put all those in the show notes.
Awesome.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on.
Yep. Thanks again.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
All righty. Take care.
Thank you for being here and taking a step towards growth. As the saying goes, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. We look forward to sharing more expertise and content with you, and we want to hear from you about what topics you're interested in learning more about. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this experience, please like, subscribe, and share with others who could benefit.
Our goal is to grow this show and bring on more valuable guests to provide relevant content for your life. Thank you for joining us on this mission to spread knowledge and connect with people around the world. The Valued Pursuit podcast and content posted by Valued Pursuit is presented solely for general informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast or website are at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, medical, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical or mental health condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such condition. You ever have a vision? Something you see play out before it happens? They say that the scariest thing in life is not growing into your potential, not recognizing the person you were created to be. We are on a mission to help everyone on this planet chase that version of you, your most fulfilled self. Created here in the USA, Reinvent Co. is now releasing their one-off hoodie in a full zip design. Premium quality fitted to your physique to show you are chasing greatness in all aspects of life. Wear a garment that shows your potential evolving over a lifetime, and become a part of a brand where humans connect to knock down the obstacles they face for endless refinement and continuous improvement.